I sincerely apologize for the employment of 2 weird episodes in a row, and for making the story of It's the Program so convoluted I'm not even sure I understand it. As a matter of fact, those of you up to snuff on your television sound effects would recognize I used the time travel sound effect from Lost during yesterday's video. I figured that if I used that sound effect, sure, the surrounding material would be just as impossible to follow, but at least you would feel right at home in your confusion. So enough of that abnormality. Let's get back to our regularly scheduled, less abnormal abnormality. Good afternoon, butt kickers. It's August 2, the 214th day of 2011, which means that 221 years ago today, the first United States Census was taken. A census, for those of you who don't know, is a survey to determine how many people are in a certain area. So back in 1790, when significantly less people were here, a census of the United States was as easy as counting raised hands, but nowadays it's a little trickier. First things first, you need to motivate people to apply for the census, because nowadays a good number of people would rather prefer to pretend they just didn't exist. Some people are just anti-government, and are struck with a solipsism so extreme as to think that the omission of themselves from a census of a highly populous nation is going to be a real blow to the infrastructure of society, that they'll show the man what fur. Of course, then there are the people who don't really exist, per se. For example, on paper, Other Griff doesn't exist, but he, as an entity, is just as real as anyone else, am I right?
It's gonna seem awfully real when I spank you with a porterhouse steak.
Of course, in his case, he doesn't exist per se, and most people would be just fine in saying he doesn't actually exist, so he wouldn't actually count towards the census. Also, in 1790, the only type of person worthy of being on record as existing was an adult white male. It took the geniuses at the Census Bureau until 1850 to realize that women, children, and yes, in fact, gasp, slaves, all technically existed as people, and not just as functions of the white males who quote-unquote owned them. Native Americans were taken into account starting in 1860 as well, but only those who had renounced tribal rules, whatever that means. I guess you don't technically exist if you prefer tents to houses and prey to wolves or whatever. There has been a census taken every 10 years since 1790, with the 9 most recent being on April 1st of that given year. A decision I find to be foolish because it could conceivably skew the data both positively and negatively. For an example of positive skew, dude, I just registered myself for the census today, and I went in 5 times, dressed differently each time, and each time I said I was one of 5 quintuplets. April Fools, America. And for an example of negative skew, hey man, the census is being taken today. Make sure you go down to City Hall and get yourself counted. Pfft, yeah, right. You're gonna have to get up pretty early in the morning to get me with an April Fool's, dude. Now, where on the ceiling did you say gullible was written? Maybe the Census Bureau just figures it all evens out in the end, which it very well could. I feel like I need to take a census of you guys, the butt kickers, to know more about the people I, as it were, govern. First, I need to appoint a Census Bureau, and as Master of Ceremonies for 2011, I think that I would be the perfect choice. Now, I know that YouTube gives me a subscriber count, but probably not all of those people watch me. Plus, there are some people who watch me who aren't subscribed to me, or don't even have a YouTube account. I can think of no other way of properly doing a census than to go to every house in the world and ask if you're a butt kicker. I don't think I want to do that, so as Master of Ceremonies for 2011, I'm now officially dissolving the Butt Kicker Census Bureau. It had a good run.